Howdy, this tutorial is going to walk you through translations. How do we do them, what they are. So at the top of my notes, and we're not going to write a lot of notes today, but I'm going to write the word translations. And a translation has this SL in it, which reminds me a translation is a slide. Okay, so you're basically taking an object. So today I have the letter F, and you are sliding that object. It can go up, down, left, right, or a combination. It could go up and right, down and right, okay? So here are a couple things we need to know. We need to know a little bit of algebra. So we need to know if we see X plus, that means the object is gonna move to the right. And if we see X minus, it's going to move to the left. If we see Y plus, it's going to go up. And if we see Y minus, it's going to go down. Okay, so you might see something that says like, translate this object X plus 2. So if this is your object, if this F is your object, X plus means it's going to go to the right. And it told you it was X plus 2, so that means it's going to go to the right 1, 2. That would be if you were on a coordinate plane, okay? Or it could say go X minus, which would mean it would go left, so X minus is left, and it would go the number of spaces that it tells you. So X minus 5, it would go left 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it might tell you to go Y minus 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, a translation, it's important to remember that it doesn't change the size. When you're sliding this figure around, it's still the same size letter F. It didn't change sizes at all. It's only changing where it's positioned, okay? And then the other thing with translations that is important to know is that every single point on your object has to do the same thing. So let's look at that with actual math. That's pretty much all of our notes. Okay, so if you wanted to, this is your assignment that I attached in Google Classroom. If you wanted to, you could come up here and write that little cheat sheet. X plus right, X minus left. You could do that if you wanted to. Okay, but let's look at this. So it says translate line segment AB. When you have an AB and you have that line over it, it means line segment. And it says to the left and down 2. So I said just a second ago that that means every single point is going to do that. So in this case, I have 2 points. I have point A and I have point B, okay? And each one of those has to go left 3 and down 2. So let me move B left 3, 1, 2, 3, and down 2, 1, 2, okay? This was the original or the pre-image, and this is the image or the new. So now it's still B, but I label it with an apostrophe, so it says B prime. Okay, now I have to do that same thing with point A. I have to take it and go left 3 and down 2. And now it's not A, it's called A prime. Okay, so that's in words. It gave it to you in words, but what do you do if it gives you something, excuse me, like this? Okay, it says translate EFGH, so we have a square here, and it says X plus 4 and Y plus 1. Well, why doesn't it say left or right? Well, it does, it just is giving it to you algebraically. It's written in algebra instead of written in words. So remember, anytime we see X plus, that means right. And anytime we see Y plus, that means up. So each one of these points, E, F, G, and H, they are all going to go right 4 and then up 1. Okay, I'll do E with you, and then I want you to complete this one by yourself. This will be part of your grade. Okay, so E is going to go right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because it told me X plus 4, which is right 4. And it's going to go up 1 because Y plus means up. And now this one is called E prime. I want you to do the 3 other ones, but what you'll notice at the end, if you don't get a square, you know you made a mistake somewhere. You need to be getting the same shape because a translation, a slide, doesn't change the shape. Okay, so let's look at number 3. So translate triangle X, Y minus 3. Okay, so we know from our little notes that we took, Y minus means down. But I don't see X plus or X minus, so maybe I made a mistake and I didn't give you a complete assignment. No, not true. Whenever you don't see X plus or X minus, all that means is this triangle, it's not gonna go side to side. It's only in this case going down, okay? So let's do this point right here. Doesn't move side to side at all. It only goes down, and it goes down because it said Y minus, so it's going down 3 each point. 1, 2, 3. Now this point needs to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. And this one needs to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. And this, oops, I almost knocked my camera over. This whole triangle was X. So now that I've transformed it by translation, it is now called X prime. So make sure you do that on yours as well. Okay, and then let's look at number 4. I'm gonna have you do this one on your own. So this one says translate figure Z, X minus 2, and Y plus 5. So we have figure Z, okay? X minus 2, I'm not gonna write it this time because I wanna make sure people are listening to the videos too. X minus 2 is gonna mean left 2, and Y plus 5 is going to mean up 5. Okay, because the figure is just Z, when you translate it, it will be Z prime. Okay, and let me actually go back up here to number 2 for a second. So when you do, when you translate F and G and H, because each point on this square has a name, you'll need to make sure when you translate F, it becomes F prime. G will become G prime, okay? Because each point was labeled, the image, the new, is gonna have each point labeled as well. Okay, so let's look at some different ones. Number 5, it says translate P. So this time we just have a point. It's not a shape, it's not a line segment, it's just a point. Okay, so it says translate P, X minus 6, and then reflect it over the y-axis. Well, hold on a second. So this is having me translate and then reflect. So it's doing 2 steps. So let me go back to my F. So I could translate this F. So I could start here and I could translate it, right? I could slide it. And then I could also reflect it a bunch of different ways, okay? All that matters in the end is the final destination of this shape, right? So this F, if I ask you to translate and then reflect, you'd slide it and then you'd flip it, but all I would want to see is the final place that it goes. I don't need to see the middle step, only the final step. So now let's actually look at a math problem. Okay, so it says translate P, X minus 6. So first do that. Translate means slide, and X minus 6 means go left 6. Okay, so P is here, and we're gonna go left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now it's here. Okay. You could put P prime if you wanted to, but we actually have another step. It says then reflect it over the y-axis. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight my y-axis. So basically this has 2 problems in one. Okay. here's my y-axis. So count how many steps away is it from that axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then when you reflect it, it's going to be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's called P prime. Remember I said you don't need the middle step. So go ahead and erase this middle step. You don't need it. I only want to see where it started and where it went. Okay, I don't want to see the middle step out. Where it started, where it went, where it stopped. Okay. So when you see these multi-step ones, don't let it stress you out. Just do one step at a time. Okay. Number 6, it says reflect triangle XYZ over the x-axis and then translate it y plus 2. Okay, so I'm going to start this one for you because I want to show you how important it is to label as you go. Okay, so point Y right here is 2 away because we're reflecting. It would help if I had the right axis. Over the x-axis. Okay, so here's point Y, and it's not 2 away because we're talking about the x-axis, so it's actually 1, 2, 3 away. So when you reflect it, it's going to be 3 away. 1, 2, 3. Make sure you label it. Okay. Z is 2 away. 1, 2. So when you reflect it, it's going to be 2 away. 1, 2. X is 1, 2, 3 away. So when you reflect it, it's going to be 1, 2, 3 away. Okay, but remember this is your middle step, right? Because then it says translate it y plus 2, which we know means up 2. So now each one of these points is going to go up 2. Okay, and remember, we don't want to see that middle step. Okay, so if you break it up, go step by step, you shouldn't have too much trouble as long as you're doing okay with reflecting and then translations as well. Okay, so number 7 says reflect line segment BC over the y-axis. Okay, so here's your y-axis. And then you're going to translate it. So I want you to do this first, but I am going to show you one point. Be careful with your labels because when you reflect it over the y-axis, if B is 1 away, then over here it stays 1 away. Okay? And then when you translate it, keep that B in the same point. But basically what I'm trying to say is a lot of people accidentally label these incorrectly. But when it's reflecting, like if I have my 2 fingers here, my pointer finger, when it reflects or flips, is now over here. Okay, so same thing with the B. It was the closest, so when I reflect it, it's the closest to that axis. So be very, very, very careful with your labels. Okay. And then your last one, number 8, it says describe the transformation. Okay, so there are 2 possible answers for A. So we go from A to A prime, and the way I know that is the prime is the new. So that means we started with this square and then we got here. Well, how did we do that? So some of you might say, oh, that looks like it's a reflection over the x-axis because they're the same distance away. And some of you might say, oh, that looks like they just translated it down. Okay. And then be really careful on B. How do you think it got from here to here? Make sure you start with the old, the pre-image, the one with the prime notation, the apostrophe, that's the new. So how did it get from here to here? Okay, so just describe it. Tell me it went up 5 and right 2, or down 6 and left 4. Okay, so A has 2 possible answers. B, there's probably just one that you're going to use. But make sure you're starting at the old, the pre-image, and you're going from old to new. If you go from B prime to this one, you're doing it backwards. Make sure you start at the old one, the one with just the regular label. Okay, so you're gonna finish this assignment. If you have any questions, you make sure you email me through either email, or you can talk to me through Google Classroom, or you can come to this week's tutoring.